It was a sad secret nobody knew. A little baby named Jason, just 1 year old, was hurting every single night. Not with a boo-boo you could see, but a quiet, slow ache deep inside his tiny body. It was making his back twist a little more each day. But his daddy, his nanny, and even his doctors didn't notice a thing. Jason lived in a super-duper fancy house in San Francisco, with huge windows and pretty furniture. But the baby wasn't perfect. His daddy, Mr. Leonard, was so sad about his wife Maria, who had passed away, that he couldn't even look at Jason. Every time he saw Jason's face he saw Maria, and it made him too sad, so he just stopped looking. The nanny, Mrs. Brennan, had taken care of lots of kids for 30 years, but she didn't have much patience. To her, Jason's crying was just noise, something to make stop, something to ignore. The doctor was called maybe once or twice, but no one really checked up. And Jason, he just kept crying, kept hurting, and kept wishing someone would see. Then a new cleaning lady named Tracy came to the house. She wasn't supposed to notice anything. She was just there to clean, be quiet, and be almost invisible. Tracy had her own son Malik, who was sick at home, and she had bills that were hard to pay. She needed this job a lot, even more than she needed to be right. But one afternoon when no one was looking, Tracy carefully picked Jason up, and right away she felt it. Something was wrong, something really bad. Then she saw a small mark on his leg, and suddenly everything made sense. But knowing the truth and actually telling it are two very different things. Especially when the people who don't want to hear it are very important and powerful, and you only have your voice. Tracy's first morning started like most of her mornings. Early, tired, and thinking about money. She drove up to the big house just after 7 o'clock. The house looked even bigger and fancier in the sunshine. All those windows, all that space. She sat in her car for a moment, looking at it, trying to calm her tummy jitters. You need this job. Don't mess it up, she told herself. Inside it was super quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like it's waiting for something to break. She started cleaning in the kitchen, wiping counters that were already sparkling clean. Then she moved to the living room, cleaning the big windows very carefully, trying not to make any noise. That's when she heard it. Crying very soft at first, coming from somewhere upstairs. Tracy stopped, her hand still on the window. She listened. The crying didn't stop. It wasn't loud or angry, just really, really sad. The kind of sad that makes your chest feel tight. She kept working, telling herself it wasn't her business. Babies cry. That's normal, she thought. But 20 minutes went by, then 30, and the crying still didn't stop. Tracy slowly moved closer to the stairs, her heart beating a little faster. She could hear Mrs. Brennan upstairs now, moving around, opening drawers, her voice sounding a bit grumpy through the walls. Jason, enough. You're fine. The baby's crying got louder, sounding like he was really desperate. I said, enough. Tracy squeezed the cleaning cloth in her hand. A few minutes later, Mrs. Brennan came downstairs carrying Jason. The baby's face was all red and puffy from crying. His tiny body was stiff and tilted to one side in a way that just didn't look right. The nanny put him down in a playpen near the window and walked away without saying a word. Jason whimpered, tried to move, and then made a little sound like he was hurting. Tracy watched from across the room, her chest feeling tight. Something's wrong with him, she thought. That evening Mr. Leonard came home. He walked through the front door like a ghost, his jacket over one shoulder, his eyes looking far away. He didn't say hello and he didn't ask about his son. He just went straight to his office. Mr. Turner. Mrs. Brennan called after him. Jason's been extra fussy again today. Handle it, Mr. Leonard said without turning around. That's your job. The office door closed. Tracy stood frozen in the hallway, holding her vacuum cleaner, watching the man disappear. She looked over at the playpen. Jason sat there quietly now, not because he felt better, but because he seemed to have given up. And something inside Tracy felt different. She thought about Malik, her own son, and all the time she had stayed up with him when he was sick, refusing to sleep until she knew he was okay. But this wasn't her child. This wasn't her house. And if she stepped out of line, she could lose her job. The crying started again, louder this time. Mrs. Brennan sighed from the kitchen, took out her earbuds, and started walking toward the playpen. Tracy watched her pick Jason up, not gently or carefully, but quickly, like he was just a pile of clothes that needed folding. You're going to bed early tonight, the nanny grumbled. I've had enough of this. She carried him upstairs. The crying continued, but it was quieter now, muffled behind a closed door. Tracy stood at the bottom of the stairs, her heart thumping really fast. She knew she shouldn't follow. She shouldn't care so much. She shouldn't risk everything for a baby who wasn't hers. But her feet were already moving. One step then another. And by the time she reached the top of the stairs, she could hear Mrs. Brennan's voice coming from the nursery, sounding cold and sharp. Stay in the crib. I don't want to hear another sound. The door opened. Mrs. Brennan stepped out, and she saw Tracy standing there in the hallway. The two women just stared at each other. Mrs. Brennan's eyes got small and narrow. What are you doing up here? Tracy's mouth felt super dry. I heard crying. You thought maybe what? The nanny's voice was like ice. That you'd interfere? Check on a child that isn't your concern. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. Mrs. Brennan stepped closer, her face tight with something that looked like anger but felt more like fear. Let me be very clear with you, Tracy. I have been taking care of children since before you were born. I know what I'm doing. Jason is fine. He's a fussy baby. Some children are just like that. But he seems like he's in pain, Tracy bravely said. You're the cleaning woman. Each word Mrs. Brennan said was sharp and meant to hurt. You clean floors. You don't tell doctors what to do with children. Do you understand me? Tracy nodded, her heart still pounding. Good. Mrs. Brennan walked past her toward the stairs. I suggest you remember your place. Mr. Turner doesn't like people who meddle. And neither do I. Tracy stood alone in the hallway, her hands shaking. Behind the nursery door, Jason had gone quiet. Not a happy quiet, but an exhausted quiet. She wanted to go in, wanted to check on him, but her feet wouldn't move. You need this job. You can't afford to lose it, a voice in her head told her. The next morning Tracy arrived. Early again, hoping to avoid Mrs. Brennan. But the house felt different somehow, heavier. As she cleaned the living room, she noticed things she hadn't seen before. Pictures on the fireplace. A beautiful woman with dark hair and a bright smile holding a tiny baby. Mr. Leonard standing next to her, his arm around her waist, actually smiling. The woman was in every picture. Sometimes alone, sometimes with Mr. Leonard, sometimes just her hand resting on her pregnant tummy. This was Maria, Jason's mommy. Tracy picked up one of the frames to dust under it. The picture showed Maria in the nursery, painting the walls, laughing at the camera. She did all of it herself, Mr. Leonard said. Tracy jumped, nearly dropping the frame. Mr. Leonard stood in the doorway. She hadn't heard him come in. I'm sorry, Mr. Turner. She designed the whole nursery, he continued, his voice sounding far away. Picked out every piece of furniture, every toy, even the crib bumpers. His jaw tightened. It was the last thing she finished before the accident. Tracy carefully put the frame back down. I'm very sorry for your loss. Mr. Leonard didn't answer. He just stood there staring at the photo, his face empty. Then he turned and walked away. Tracy watched him go, her chest aching. This wasn't just a rich man ignoring his child. This was a man so broken by sadness that he couldn't bear to look at his own son. Couldn't bear to go into the nursery his wife had made. Couldn't bear to be a daddy because being a daddy meant remembering he had lost his wife. And somewhere in the middle of all that pain, a baby was hurting. That afternoon, Tracy was cleaning near the playpen when Jason started crying again. She peeked toward the kitchen. Mrs. Brennan was on the phone, her back turned. Tracy knelt down beside the playpen. Hey, little one, she whispered. Jason looked at her, his eyes red and swollen. He didn't reach for her, didn't smile, just watched her with that same super sad look. Tracy's throat felt tight. She reached through the bars and gently touched his hand. Jason flinched, not because he was scared but because he was in pain. And that's when Tracy saw it clearly for the very first time. The way his shoulder was higher on one side. The way his back curved when he tried to sit up. The way moving at all seemed to hurt him. What are you doing? Tracy spun around. Mrs. Brennan stood behind her, her face dark with anger. I told you not to touch him. I wasn't. Get your things. You're done for the day. Tracy slowly stood up, her heart racing. Mrs. Brennan, please. I think something's really wrong with. Get out. Now. Tracy grabbed her cleaning stuff and headed for the door, her hands shaking so hard she could barely hold anything. But as she reached her car, she looked back at the big house, at the windows, the perfect house, the wealth, and somewhere inside, a baby crying that no one wanted to hear. Tracy sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel. She thought about Malik waiting for her at home, about her mama, about the bills on her kitchen counter, about everything she'd lose if she kept trying to help. Then she thought about Jason's sad eyes, and she knew she was already too involved to just walk away. Day 3. Tracy almost didn't come back, but she needed the money, so she showed up. Mrs. Brennan met her at the door. Main floor only today. Stay downstairs. Yes, ma'am. The nanny went upstairs with Jason, and within minutes the crying started. Tracy scrubbed the kitchen counters, trying to ignore it, but the sound wouldn't stop. 20 minutes, 30, 45. She could hear Mrs. Brennan moving around upstairs, not bothered at all. Jason, enough. You're fine. But he wasn't fine. Tracy gripped the sponge tighter, her chest burning. Around noon, Mrs. Brennan grabbed her purse. I'm going out for lunch. Don't go upstairs. The door closed. Tracy stood alone in the quiet house, her heart pounding. She knew she shouldn't, but she couldn't stop herself. She climbed the stairs, pushed open the nursery door, and stepped inside. Jason lay in his crib, awake, staring at nothing. His face was red and swollen. His body curved to the side in a way that made her stomach feel twisted. Tracy knelt beside him. Hey, baby. He looked at her with those tired, heartbroken eyes. She pulled out her phone and searched online. Baby won't sit straight. Infant spinal problems. The things she read made her hands shake. If caught early, treatable. If left untreated, permanent damage. She heard the front door open downstairs. Tracy jumped up, quickly slipped out of the nursery, and rushed back to the kitchen just as Mrs. Brennan walked in. The nanny's eyes got small and suspicious. Where were you? Finishing the living room, Tracy said, trying to keep her voice steady. Mrs. Brennan didn't look convinced. That evening, Mr. Leonard came home. Tracy was cleaning the entryway when he walked past her, his phone pressed to his ear. She took a deep breath. Mr. Turner? He stopped, a flicker of annoyance on his face. What? It's about Jason. I think he needs to see a doctor. His back doesn't look right. Mrs. Brennan handles Jason's care. Mr. Leonard cut her off, his voice cold. She's been doing this for 30 years. If something was wrong, she'd know. But what if she's missing something? Tracy. He stepped closer, his jaw tight. You're not paid to tell doctors about my son. You're paid to clean. Do your job or I'll find someone who will. He walked away. Tracy stood there, her throat burning, tears stinging her eyes. She was nobody, just the helper. And he was a man with all the power in the world. That night, she sat at her kitchen table staring at her phone. On the screen, a number for people who help children who might be in danger. Her finger hovered over it. If she called, she could lose everything. But if she didn't, she thought about Jason's face. That curve in his back, something that could be broken forever if no one helped him. Tomorrow, Mrs. Brennan had a doctor's appointment. She'd be gone for hours. Tomorrow, Tracy would be alone with Jason. And maybe that was her one chance, even if it meant losing everything. Her phone buzzed. A text from Malik's school. Reminder, medication refill needed by Friday. Tracy closed her eyes. She couldn't afford to lose this job, but she couldn't afford to stay quiet either. Tomorrow she'd have to choose. Friday morning, Mrs. Brennan was waiting by the door when Tracy arrived. I have an appointment. I'll be back in 2 hours, maybe 3. Tracy's heart started beating faster. Should I? Jason's in his playpen. Keep him there. Don't pick him up. Don't feed him. Just leave him alone and do your work. The nanny's eyes were sharp. Are we clear? Yes, ma'am. The door closed. Silence. Tracy stood in the entryway, her heart pounding in her ears. She was alone with Jason. For the first time all week, she could actually help him, actually see what was wrong. But Mrs. Brennan's warning kept echoing in her head. Don't touch him. Tracy walked into the living room. Jason sat in the playpen, quiet, his small body tilted to the side. When he saw her, he didn't smile, didn't cry, just watched her with those sad, knowing eyes. She knelt beside the playpen. Hey, sweetheart. Jason blinked slowly. Tracy's hands trembled. I'm going to help you, okay? I promise. She lifted him carefully out of the playpen. The second her hands touched him, she felt it. His body was stiff and tight, like every muscle was getting ready for pain. Oh, baby, she whispered, holding him close. What's been happening to you? She carried him upstairs to the nursery. Her heart thumped with every step. Inside, she laid him gently on the changing table and began looking at him closely, the way she had learned years ago when she trained to be a nurse's helper. His back curved when he lay flat. His left shoulder was higher than his right. And when she carefully tried to straighten him, he made a little whimpering sound. Tracy's throat tightened. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She looked at the crib. The expensive bumpers, the fancy blankets, everything Maria had chosen before she died. Then she noticed it. One part of the bumper had come loose from its ties. It was all bunched up and thick on the left side, making a little wall. Tracy gasped. If a baby slept against that every night, his body would have to curve to fit. His leg would press against it for hours, for months. She lifted Jason again and gently looked at his left leg. There, just above his ankle, was a dark mark, deep and old, the kind that comes from something pressing on you all the time. Tracy's hand shook as all the pieces fell into place. This baby had been sleeping in the same twisted position for months, and his soft, growing bones had been changing, curving, getting used to it. Oh God, she breathed. Nobody's been checking on you at night. She pulled out her phone with shaky fingers and started taking pictures. The crib, the bunched-up bumper, Jason's curved back, the mark on his leg, evidence. She heard a car door slam outside. Tracy's heart stopped. She looked out the window. Mrs. Brennan was back early. Tracy quickly put Jason back in the playpen, shoved her phone in her pocket, and grabbed her cleaning supplies. The front door opened. Tracy. Mrs. Brennan's voice was cold. I'm here. Tracy called out, her voice shaking. The nanny appeared in the doorway, her eyes looking around the room. Then they landed on Jason. He was facing the wrong way in the playpen. Mrs. Brennan's face darkened. You touched him. I told you not to touch him. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to something dangerous. What were you doing up here? Tracy's mind raced. I heard him crying. Lying won't help you. Mrs. Brennan pulled out her phone. I'm calling Mr. Turner. You're done. Wait. No. You've crossed the line for the last time. Tracy stood frozen as the nanny dialed. In her pocket, her phone felt like it was burning a hole through her jeans. She had the evidence. She had proof. But in 30 seconds, Mr. Leonard Turner was going to fire her. And once she was gone, no one would ever look at that crib again. No one would ever see what she saw. Jason would keep sleeping in that position, keep crying in pain until the damage became permanent. Tracy's hands curled into fists. She had one choice left and she had about 10 seconds to make it. Mr. Turner, it's Mrs. Brennan. We have a problem. Tracy watched the nanny pace the living room, her phone pressed to her ear. The cleaning woman has been messing with Jason. I've warned her many times, but she won't listen. She was upstairs in the nursery when I clearly told her not to be. Silence. Then Mrs. Brennan's voice turned even colder. I think it's best if we let her go. Today. Tracy's stomach dropped. Mrs. Brennan hung up. Mr. Turner will be home in 20 minutes. You can wait outside. Please, Tracy said quietly. Just let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You don't follow instructions. You meddle, and frankly, I don't trust you. The nanny walked away, leaving Tracy standing alone in the middle of the house. 20 minutes. That's all she had. Tracy looked at Jason in the playpen. He was watching her, his eyes tired and sad. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and opened the photos she'd taken. The crib, the bunched-up bumper, the mark on Jason's leg. It wasn't enough. She needed more. She needed someone to believe her. Quickly, she opened her internet browser and searched. Free legal help low-income families. A number popped up. Legal aid clinic. She dialed. Legal aid services. How can I help you? Tracy's voice trembled. I need help. I work as a maid, and the baby in the house is being hurt. Not on purpose, but no one's seeing it. I have photos, but I'm about to lose my job and I don't know what to do. The woman on the other end was calm. Okay, tell me what you've seen. Tracy explained everything. The crying, the curved back, the crib bumper, the mark on Jason's leg. Do you have medical papers? The woman asked. No, I'm just the cleaning woman. I can't take him to a doctor without permission. Then the photos help, but they're not enough to get an official order to protect him. We'd need a doctor to say, what you're seeing is true. Tracy's heart sank. So I can't do anything? You can tell Child Protective Services. They can investigate, but I need to be honest with you. Without medical proof, and with the family having rich lawyers, this could be difficult. What if I just took him to a hospital without his parents' permission? That's like kidnapping. You could be arrested. Tracy closed her eyes. So, I'm supposed to just watch him hurt? The woman paused. I didn't say that. I'm saying you need to be ready for what might happen if you do something. This family has power. You don't. That's the truth. Tracy heard a car pull into the driveway. I have to go, she whispered. She hung up just as Mr. Leonard walked through the door. He looked super tired, angry, and broken. Mrs. Brennan appeared right away. Mr. Turner, thank you for coming. As I mentioned, Tracy has repeatedly. I know what you said. Mr. Leonard's voice was flat. He turned to Tracy. Is it true? You went into the nursery after being told not to. Tracy's throat was tight. Yes. Why? Because your son is in pain, and no one's listening to him. Mr. Leonard's jaw clenched. Jason is fine. Mrs. Brennan has everything under control. He's not fine. Tracy's voice cracked. His back is curving. There's a mark on his leg from sleeping in the same position every night. The crib bumper is bunched up, and it's hurting him. Mrs. Brennan's face turned red. That's nonsense. It's the truth, Tracy said, her eyes locked on Mr. Leonard. And if you don't believe me, just look at him. Really look at him. Mr. Leonard stared at her, his face showing no emotion. Then he turned toward the playpen, walked over slowly, and looked down at his son. Jason sat there, his little body tilted, his face tired and sad. For a long moment Mr. Leonard just stared. Then he looked back at Tracy, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite understand. Get out, he said quietly. Tracy's heart felt like it shattered. Mr. Turner, I said, get out. Mrs. Brennan smiled, and Tracy realized she had just lost everything. But as she walked toward the door, her phone heavy in her pocket, one thought burned through her mind. She still had the photos. She still had the legal aid number, and she still had a choice to make. Tracy sat in her car outside the fancy house, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. She'd been fired. It was over. She pulled out her phone and stared at the photos of Jason, the bunched-up bumper, the mark on his leg, the curve in his back. Then she looked at the legal aid number still open on her screen. Without medical proof, this could be difficult. You could be arrested. This family has power. You don't. Tracy's hand shook. She thought about Malik waiting for her at home. About her mama. About the bills she couldn't pay now that this job was gone. She thought about everything she just lost. Then she thought about Jason's eyes and she made the call. Child Protective Services. How can I help you? Tracy's voice cracked. I need to report a child in danger. Inside the big house, Mr. Leonard stood at the window watching Tracy's car in the driveway. She's still out there, Mrs. Brennan said from behind him. Should I call security? Mr. Leonard didn't answer. He just stared. Mrs. Brennan crossed her arms. I told you she was trouble. These people always meddle. They think because they clean your house they have a right to. Stop talking. The nanny's mouth snapped shut. Mr. Leonard turned and looked at Jason in the playpen. He really looked. The way the baby sat, the tilt in his body, the quiet, exhausted way he just existed. When was the last time the doctor actually checked him? Mr. Leonard asked quietly. Mrs. Brennan blinked. We had an appointment 3 months ago. Did the doctor watch him sleep? Check his crib, look at how he was lying? Well, no. But, did you mention the crying? Mrs. Brennan's face flushed red. Children cry, Mr. Turner. It's normal. How much does he cry? Silence. Mr. Leonard's voice dropped. How much? He's fussier than most, Mrs. Brennan admitted. But I've raised tons of children. Some are just difficult. Mr. Leonard walked to the playpen and knelt down. Jason looked up at him with those same tired, sad eyes. And for the first time in 8 months, Mr. Leonard actually saw his son. Not Maria's baby, not a reminder of what he had lost, but his son who was in pain. "Call the pediatrician," Mr. Leonard said, his voice shaking. "Now." Mrs. Brennan hesitated. "Mr. Turner, I really don't think." I said, "Now." The nanny flinched, pulled out her phone and dialed. Outside, Tracy was still on the phone with the people who help children. "A social worker will come by within 48 hours to check things out," the woman said. "But I need to warn you. If the family says your claims aren't true and you have no medical proof, this might not go anywhere." "I understand," Tracy whispered. "And if they try to sue you for telling lies, it's not false. I believe you. But believing isn't proof." Tracy hung up and stared at the big house. 48 hours. That's how long Jason had to wait. 48 more hours of pain, of crying, of no one really seeing him. Tracy looked at the hospital address she'd searched earlier on her phone. UCSF Medical Center. 15 minutes away. She looked at the house, at the window where Mr. Leonard stood. Then she looked at the clock. Mrs. Brennan's car was still in the driveway, and so was Mr. Leonard's. But in about an hour, Mr. Leonard always left for his afternoon meetings, and Mrs. Brennan always took her walk. 1 hour, one chance. Tracy closed her eyes and prayed for the first time in months. "God, if you're listening, I need you to tell me what to do because I don't know anymore." Her phone buzzed. A text from Malik. "Love you, Mom. Hope work is good today." Tracy's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the house one more time. And then she made a big decision that would either save a child's life or make her own life very hard. Tracy didn't go back to the mansion that day. She went home, hugged Malik, and tried to pretend everything was fine. But that night she couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Jason's face. That curve in his back, the mark on his leg that told a story no one else wanted to hear. Saturday morning, Malik wanted to go to the park. Tracy watched him run across the grass. His body moving freely, naturally, no pain, no stiffness, just a healthy 6-year-old being a kid. Jason couldn't do that. Jason could barely sit without hurting. "Mama, why are you sad?" Malik asked, running back to her. Tracy pulled him close. "Just thinking about work, baby." "Do you like your new job?" She didn't know how to answer. Sunday, she visited her mama at the special care home. Her mother took one look at her face and knew something was wrong. "What's wrong, baby girl?" Tracy told her everything. The crying, how Jason was being ignored, the proof on her phone she was too scared to use. "What do I do, Mama? If I speak up, I lose the job. We can't pay your bills, can't buy Malik's medicine." Her mother held her hand. "I taught you to know the difference between the hard choice and the right choice. They're the same thing this time. They usually are. But you need this place. Malik needs his inhaler. We survived before this job," her mama said gently. "We'll survive after. But baby, could you survive knowing you stayed quiet while a child suffered? Would you want Malik growing up thinking that's who his mama is?" Tracy's eyes filled with tears. Her mother squeezed her hand. "Some things matter more than money. You know that." That night, Tracy sat at her kitchen table, staring at the bills spread in front of her. Malik's medicine, $200. Her mama's care home, $3,500. Rent, $1,800. She couldn't afford any of it without that job, and she'd already lost it. So what did she have left to lose? She picked up her phone and opened the photos of Jason. Then she looked at the hospital address. Her hands trembled as she made a plan. Tomorrow was Monday. Mr. Leonard would be in his office all day. Mrs. Brennan would leave for her afternoon break. Tracy still had her keys to the house. She could go back, get Jason, take him to the hospital herself. It was crazy, against the rules, could get her arrested, but it might be the only way to save him. She thought about her mama's words. Could you survive knowing you stayed quiet? She thought about Malik, about the kind of person she wanted him to see when he looked at her. She thought about Jason crying alone in that crib night after night while his body slowly broke. And she knew what she had to do. Even if it destroyed her, even if she went to jail, even if she lost everything. Because some children don't have anyone else. And sometimes God puts you in a place not because it's easy, but because you're the only one willing to see. Tracy set her alarm for 6 a.m. Tomorrow she'd go back to that house one last time, and she'd walk out with Jason in her arms, or she wouldn't walk out at all. Monday morning, 2 p.m. Tracy's hand shook as she turned the key in the lock. The house was quiet. Mr. Leonard's car was gone. Mrs. Brennan had left 10 minutes ago for her afternoon walk. Tracy stepped inside, her heart thumping so loud she could barely hear anything else. She climbed the stairs, pushed open the nursery door. Jason lay in his crib awake, crying softly. When he saw her, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe even hope. "I'm so sorry, baby," Tracy whispered, lifting him carefully. "But I'm going to help you now. I promise." She wrapped him in a blanket, grabbed the diaper bag and walked out. Her hands trembled the entire drive to the hospital. At UCSF Medical Center, Tracy walked straight to the emergency desk. "This baby needs help. His back is curving. There's a mark on his leg. He's been sleeping in a dangerous position for months." The nurse's eyes got wide. "Are you his mother?" "No, I was his caregiver. Please just examine him." Within minutes a doctor came, then another. They took Jason into an exam room, and then hospital security arrived. "Ma'am, we need you to stay here. The baby's father has been contacted." Tracy's stomach dropped. "I can explain. You'll need to speak with the police. They're on their way." 20 minutes later, Mr. Leonard burst through the doors like a storm. His face was red, his eyes wild. "Where is my son? Where is she?" A police officer stepped forward. "Mr. Turner, your son is being examined, and this woman is being held for taking a child without permission." Mr. Leonard's eyes found Tracy across the waiting room. The rage on his face made her knees feel weak. Then a doctor came out. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a serious look. "Mr. Turner, I'm Dr. Sarah Chun, a doctor for children's bones. We need to talk about your son." Mr. Leonard barely looked at her. "I want her arrested. She took my child without permission." "Mr. Turner." Dr. Chin's voice was firm. "Please sit down." Something in her voice made him stop. He sat. Dr. Chun pulled out a tablet showing x-rays, which are like pictures of bones inside the body. "Your son has something called positional plagiocephaly and developing scoliosis. His back has been curving because of something pressing on it for a long time from sleeping in one position." Mr. Leonard stared at the pictures. What are you saying?" "I'm saying this woman likely saved your son from needing surgery." Dr. Chun showed him photos. The crib bumper in his nursery had come loose and was all bunched up. It forced him to sleep on his right side every night. For months his growing bones changed to fit that tight space. She showed him the mark on Jason's leg. "This is from constant pressure. If this had continued another few months, he would have needed a big surgery on his back, possibly braces for years." The color drained from Mr. Leonard's face. "But the pediatrician said he was fine. When was he last checked while sleeping? When did anyone check how he was lying in his crib at night?" Silence. Dr. Chen's voice softened. "Mr. Turner, this wasn't meant to hurt him, but it was like not noticing something important. And this woman," she pointed to Tracy, "she saw what everyone else missed." Mr. Leonard looked at Tracy, then at Jason, sleeping peacefully in the doctor's arms, finally comfortable for the first time in months. Then his face crumpled. "Oh God," he whispered. "What have I done?" He buried his face in his hands, his whole body shaking. "I couldn't look at him. After Maria died, I couldn't. Every time I saw his face, I saw her. So I stopped looking." His voice broke. "And he was suffering right in front of me, and I didn't see it." He looked up at Tracy, tears streaming down his face. "You tried to tell me. You risked everything to tell me, and I threatened you." Tracy's throat was tight. "I just wanted him to be okay." The police officer cleared his throat. "Mr. Turner, do you want to press charges?" Mr. Leonard stared at Tracy for a long moment. Then he stood and walked over to her. "No," he said quietly. "She saved my son's life." He turned to the officer. "I'm not pressing charges. She's a hero. And his voice cracked, "I'm the one who should be arrested." The charges were dropped that afternoon. Tracy sat in the hospital waiting room, super tired, watching Mr. Leonard hold Jason for what seemed like the first time in months. The baby was calm, comfortable, finally seen. Dr. Chun explained the plan to make him better. Physical therapy 3 times a week, special ways to position him for sleep, regular checkups. With help now, he should get completely better within 6 to 8 months. Mr. Leonard's voice was barely a whisper. And if she hadn't brought him in? Surgery, braces, maybe even problems that would last forever. He closed his eyes, his son sleeping peacefully against his chest. Later, Mr. Leonard found Tracy in the hallway. "I don't know how to say sorry for what I did to you." Tracy shook her head. "You were so sad, like drowning. I understand being sad. I couldn't watch Jason drown with you." Mr. Leonard's eyes filled with tears. "I fired you, I threatened you, and you still saved him. He's a baby. He needed someone. He needed his father." Mr. Leonard's voice cracked. "And I wasn't there." Silence settled between them. Then Mr. Leonard spoke again. "Come back. Not as a maid, but as Jason's caregiver. Someone who actually sees him." He paused. "Bring your son, your mother. I'll pay for everything. Dr. Bill's school, whatever you need." Tracy stared at him. "Mr. Turner. Leonard, please." His voice was rough. "I can't undo what I did, but I can make sure you never have to choose between doing the right thing and being able to live again." 3 months later, the big house felt different, somehow warmer. Tracy sat in the living room watching Malik and Jason play together on the floor. Jason's back was getting straight. His smile was real now, bright and beautiful. Her mother sat nearby reading a book, peaceful and taken care of. Mr. Leonard came in from his office, something he did every hour now, checking on Jason, really being there. "How's he doing?" Mr. Leonard asked, kneeling beside his son. "He's perfect," Tracy said softly. Jason reached for his father, and Mr. Leonard lifted him, holding him close. "I'm learning," Mr. Leonard whispered. "How to be his dad again. How to see him without only seeing her." "She'd be proud of you," Tracy said. Mr. Leonard's eyes sparkled with tears. "I think she'd be proud of you for seeing what I was too sad to see." That evening, after the boys were asleep, Mr. Leonard found Tracy in the kitchen. "I started a special group," he said quietly. "In Maria's name, free doctor checkups for families who can't pay for them. So other children don't get missed." He paused. "I want you to run it." Tracy gasped. "Leonard, you saved my son by refusing to be invisible. Now help me make sure no child is invisible again." Tracy looked out the window at the bay, the sun setting golden and warm. She thought about her mama's words. How good a person is isn't about what they have. It's about who they are when no one's watching. She thought about that first day hearing Jason cry, feeling small and like she couldn't do anything. And she thought about how God doesn't always choose the most powerful people. Sometimes he chooses the ones willing to see. "I'll do it," she whispered. Jason's happy laughter drifted from upstairs where Malik was reading him a story. And for the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel heavy. Felt like home. Sometimes the smallest voice tells the most important truth. Sometimes the person with nothing has everything that truly matters. And sometimes loving a child you didn't give birth to takes more bravery than anything else in the world.